G'day, Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with this week's news in investigations around Australia. So what's been happening out there? Well, in the Moira Shire Council, a widow is suing the council after her husband was shot dead by a disgruntled employee. Now, this happened some 3 years ago where a supervisor at the council was shot dead by an employee who was accused of stealing from the council at that workplace. And apparently he didn't do it, but he was so upset about it, he went and got himself a gun and went back and shot his supervisor. The council was shut down after that as a result of the safety issues that they identified there. So that's been in the headlines this week. You can read all about it if you just type in the Moira Shire Council and it will come up. We're going to be talking today about claims leakage. Now, claims leakage is something that you'll hear at all the conferences. This is the event at conferences that nobody wants to go to. They send all the new people to go and listen to a presentation on claims leakage. Now, it always relates to an individual insurance claim. They talk about leakage coming from incorrect decisions made, too much paid as a result of untrained staff. There's gaps there in knowledge, skill, information, attitude, training, and those staff don't have it. And basically it leads to too much being paid, and over multiple claims, the leakage starts to get great. Now here, it's commonly accepted that there's a 3% leakage from any claim, but PricewaterhouseCoopers in a recent study, which you're looking at right now, reckons it's up to 25%. And they go through the top 3 errors that they talk about in that presentation. Now, you can just Google PricewaterhouseCoopers and claims leakage and see this presentation, and it's quite an interesting one. And it talks about their 5 steps in relation to looking at the gaps that they've identified in claims leakage. Now, if you've been following this program over the last 5 episodes, we've been talking about knowledge, skill, attitude, training, information gaps at the VWA in Victoria, where they decided to funnel all their staff, the new manager of their investigation staff, into the AIPI and one organisation for fraud control training. Now, this was advertised by the VWA. Its intent to do that, which basically meant that over time, they were going to do exactly the same and enforce it upon private investigators in Victoria as well, working for the VWA. Now, the TAC in Victoria don't do this. None of the other workers' compensation insurers around Australia, in New South Wales, Tasmania, Queensland, Western Australia or South Australia, NT or the ACT, they don't funnel any of workers' compensation investigators into an industry association. They don't do it. And they tried to at Victoria in a recent job advertisement. It signalled to the entire industry, our intent is to make everyone that does investigations in Victoria join the AIPI, pay whatever fee the AIPI demands, because it's going to have to be done. Now, the big issue with this is there is a code of practice for private investigators, and in that code of practice and other past presentations, it tells you all about how they run the internal investigations unit and how they want it to be transparent and accountable for the private investigators who are in the scheme. But that doesn't apply to the VWA staff who have to funnel people into the AIPI. That's not there. Now, there is no record of any meetings between the Victorian Work Cover Authority, the VWA, the AIPI. There's no minutes in any meetings. No one can say on this day, date and time at a minuted meeting, according to process, policy and procedure, and recorded in our gift registry as being the lunch being paid for by who, which is procedure at the VWA. They've got to do that, all right? Otherwise, they're open to accusations of implied bribery and corruption if they don't do it, right? There's no record of any of this. And they have to have a gift registry to say someone shouted us lunch or gave us a free breakfast for 6 of our staff at a meeting of scrambled eggs and toast. They still have to put that in their gift registry, which is a little bit dusty and hasn't really been filled in for quite a while, so that people who are checking this sort of thing, like the Ombudsman, who monitors what the VWA does in relation to how it operates itself and conducts itself towards claims, and the injured workers of Victoria. And it came down with exposing this program that there's a knowledge, skill, attitude, information and training gap that Evel Knievel couldn't jump over, and that in the future they intended to have the 1,619 active licensed investigators in Victoria join the AIPI as a matter of course. Well, they got busted. They got found out. All right. And what happens, you can't do that as a public servant. You can't tell people what colour socks to wear. You can't tell them what model of car to buy, what brand of coffee, what industry association they are to join. Exclusion practices always backfire.
Dad, exclusion always backfires.
So this is what's happened on the VWA. Now they're looking at it internally before Jacinta Allen finds out. So the CEO of the VWA's got to ask some very hard questions of some very naughty boys who have been to breakfast, lunch or something, like, who knows? We don't know. There's no record of it. Right, and decided with the VWA staff that the investigations manager has to be a member of their industry association.
This plan might backfire.
They didn't think about it actually backfiring.
Backfire.
There was too much wine and too much beer and too much talk, and it's not going to fly. So that's happened this week. Let's have a look at some of the problems with not keeping a registry and the solution to it. If you are corrupt, you could use what's in here. Now, it's really, really important to understand this is satire. It doesn't exist, right? It's a solution for those that want to do silly things and get above their pay grade and try and influence the whole industry, which they can't. And it isn't done that way in any other state or territory. Solution, if you're a corrupt public servant and you've got the Ombudsman or your CEO or the Minister for the VWA on your case about your expenses, all those strip clubs, pole dancers.
Dad, exclusion always backfires.
PI that you didn't declare, all that sort of thing in your gift registry. So what do you do to fix all that and be relieved of all that pressure on your Platinum American Express credit card when you're trying to explain those expenses to your CEO, to the Minister, to the Ombudsman, and ultimately to the injured workers of Victoria? G'day, I'm Mick from Officeworks, and I want to introduce you to our new AI gift registry. You got a frumpy old out of touch Ombudsman on your case about your expenses at WorkSafe in Victoria? Well, with the new AI gift registry, you can relax, because if you're at the pole dancing club and you're having Chateaubriand, what the AI gift registry does, it automatically changes as soon as you fill it out through the magic of AI to cheese sandwiches, not at the strip club, but at the tram stop. So it looks like you were working hard on the run. G'day, I'm Mick from Officeworks, and I want to introduce you to our new AI gift registry. This is absolutely fantastic stuff. So what else does it do? If you're out and you're using sex workers on your Platinum American Express government credit card, it comes out as virtual assistants. How good is that? And strippers magically become fitness consultants. 3 bottles of wine, Graham Termitage over lunch becomes a 3-pack of water ewers in your AI gift registry, the must-have thing for all bent public servants in state government who are trying to hide their expenses from the Ombudsman. Come into Officeworks today.
Gender what?
Only $145. I'm Mike from Officeworks, Geelong.
Totally backfired.
Okay, so what are some of the jobs this week at Around the Traps on the Australian Security Academy Facebook page, where we curate 30% of the available jobs for the coming week that you can see to help you guide and make decisions on your career as a licensed private investigator in Australia. No other registered training organisation has this up-to-date information nor the connections that you're about to see in relation to employment. For you, the graduate of the Australian Security Academy. If you're not a graduate of the Australian Security Academy, you won't get one of these jobs. So here we go. Pinkertons are looking for investigators, factual investigators, New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria. See this job on our Facebook page. They're kicking goals at Pinkertons, just taken over Verifact. So it's a growing, already established investigation agency, and they're a great team at Pinkertons. You see them feature regularly on this program. TAC down in Geelong in Victoria, that's the Transport Accident Commission, have a job vacancy down there for a full-time investigator. So great opportunity to work for the Transport Accident Commission in Victoria as a government investigator. You're going to need a certificate for in government investigation, some fraud investigation experience, because this is the internal stuff. These people handle all the frauds. So they don't have the corruption issues that you see at the Victorian WorkSafe Authority and their connection to the AIPI and PICA and ISTA and all the issues that went on with the 120 cancelled Victorian licensed private investigator qualifications. TAC, upfront, good organisation to work for. Risk and Security Management are looking for repossession field agents in Sydney. So jump on our Facebook page and see who to contact there. They want to hear from you. They've got work coming out their ears at Risk and Security and Management, one of the largest investigation and mercantile agencies in Australia. A licensed CTP investigator is required at Parramatta in Sydney by the ProCare Group, and ProCare have advertised recently, and you'll see the job on the same Facebook page, for surveillance operatives. So don't miss that out. They want a CTP investigator licensed in Parramatta, and they want surveillance operatives as well. A team member at the vetting authority, that's the AGVA, is required, and you could earn, get this, up to $116,500 per year as a security vetter in certificate for in government security personnel vetting. So great opportunities in that field. We live in a time where the government is going through growth by immigration, and therefore, and a rising defence force in uncertain times globally, therefore the checks and the vetting of people immigrating or entering the defence force become critical. Auto and General in Queensland, one of the largest, if not the largest, general insurance company in the world, are looking for a fraud investigator based on the Sunshine Coast. Great opportunity if you're an Australian Security Academy student. You don't really need a Certificate 3 for this job. They will put you through it. They do. That's how seriously they take it. But they like to see some experience and some good training in the background. They only employ top people at Auto and General in Queensland. And our final three job vacancies, Clarity Workplace Solutions in New South Wales and Victoria are looking for factual investigators. These guys have employed every single graduate of the Australian Security Academy that's ever applied. They get in touch with them. And the guys down here are looking for factual investigators in Victoria. So Southern Cross Investigations, what a great team. Google them, see them on our Facebook page, but get in touch with Southern Cross Investigations. They're after investigators, factual investigators in Victoria. Seeker Group down in Victoria. If you apply to them today, you'll start on Tuesday of next week. Get in touch with the Seeker Group. Google their website. If you're a licensed factual investigator in Victoria, Seeker Group want to give you work and want you to work with their team. What a great team at Seeker Group. G'day, everybody at Seeker.
I'm so undercover.
So yes, claims leakage generally applies to a single claim. But what you're seeing down in Victoria with the issue with the AIPI and Professional Investigators College of Australia and their association and the $145 bribes paid that got in excess of 120 licensed private investigators' licenses taken off them by the regulator in that state who actually regulates, unlike the VWA who don't, right? They let their staff do anything they want to do. So claims leakage applies to a single claim. But in this case, what you're watching at the VWA is potential for leakage to go scheme-wide. That means people not following process, not following procedure. There's training, information. All right. Attitude gaps that have to be attended to address that leakage that's going on in the Victorian Workers' Compensation Scheme that's there for the benefit of the injured workers of Victoria. It's not there for the benefit of the AIPI or a few investigators within the Work Cover $6 billion scheme in Victoria. What do they care? They just raise premiums next year to earn more money and get another $6 billion. That's what they're saying to the voting public and the electorate and the injured workers. We can do what we like. We've got $6 billion if we want to not declare a few breakfasts of scrambled eggs and soggy toast. We don't have to. We don't put it in our gift register. Oh, yes, you do. You have to. So other news this week. CTP has had a rise in mental health claims. And in this article in the Insurance News, you can see all about that at the AILA conference coming up in September on the Gold Coast. So you'll see the presentation there. There was a policyholder recently in Australia who lost a claim that someone had sabotaged his tractor. So they took it into the assessment centre, pulled it apart and got the engineers to look at it. And they decided that no one had poured dirt into the fuel tank of the tractor. But basically what had happened was it was never serviced and never cleaned, and it just ran all the time, and it's accumulation over time, not a vandalism event as claimed. So that claim was denied. So what they do in any kind of large claim where there's an accident involving machinery or motor vehicles into the assessment centre of the insurer, that's their mechanics. It's like they have doctors, they have psychologists, they have mechanics, and they have private investigators, okay? And all these people win a tender to do that work. And it's all transparent and it's all up front and all the submissions are recorded and agreed and signed off on. Not like agreements between the AIPI and the VWA staff that aren't recorded at meetings that were never recorded, that resulted in the funneling of the claim of the investigations manager of the VWA, who was never even appointed yet, into the AIPI, to the exclusion of all the other industry associations. Can't do it. Okay, so what else has been happening? Australia Post worker and his mate have used inside knowledge to fuel a gambling streak. Now, what's happened is this guy's got a mate who works where they have the Australian of the Year, right? And so when they announce the Australian of the Year comes out on a postage stamp. So 3 weeks before it's announced, the worker who's making the postage stamps knows who won. So he tells his mate, who goes and places bets, numerous bets on it, and to the tune of $13,000, that's what he won. Right, and he was prosecuted in court by the police. The gambling authority down there were watching it for years, 3 years in a row or something like that. He kept picking the winner and never lost a bet. And boy, does that get attention of the authorities. if you're going to gamble, put a few losing bets on, mix it up a little bit. Don't just have all winners. This guy was not sophisticated. The Australia Post worker lost his job. His reputation was badly damaged. It was just silly thing to do. He should never have done it. But you've got to look at it, motive and opportunity minus constraints at Australia Post, with no policy, process and procedure enforced on that boundary pusher within, right? Who would have known not to leak that information as part of the leakage of what was going on so his mate could bet on it, that he shouldn't have been doing that. And basically he resigned from his job as a result of it. So it was a silly thing to do. What else have we got? So got that one. Oh, sorry. So just recently this week, an NRL player had his $1 million claim rejected as a result of his insurer's medical examination, where he told the insurer, his medical examiner, that he was still going to the gym, he was still working out, he was doing all these things. And his claim said that he was basically paralysed and couldn't do those things. One of the issues that resulted in the rejection of his claim was a video that's circulating on the internet showing him riding a jet ski. Now, this is a one-off moment. It's not an accumulation of him doing things 5 days in a row as what would be required for a serious surveillance result in a insurance compensation claim, to see the person is fraudulent in relation to their injury. I'm not saying this guy was fraudulent. His claim was knocked back because he could still ride a jet ski and he could still work out that sort of thing. One of the critical things in a minute when you watch the video, this is him on the jet ski and he's identifiable by his tattoo. So he's steering the jet ski and there's only him on it and he's filming it with his phone at the same time. And it's going, you know, quite well. It's got a bit of speed to it. It's not absolutely flat chat, but he's got the balance and the stability to be able to do that. Let's have a look at the film that the court said was an indication that he was not as injured as badly as he said he was.
The sun is coming up, are you ready to go? We can take it right, we can take it slow. Your will is my law, I'ma let you be the boss, 'cause I'll go where you go. I'll take you to a place we can see it all. Step off the edge, I can break your fall. Your will is my law, I'ma let you be the boss, 'cause I'll go where you go. When you fall down, I'll get you back up again. The things you try are things that you won't regret. We are kings of the world.
So that was basically him on the jet ski, and one of the photos in the newspaper was taken as a screenshot from that video. Now, why did he have a claim in? Why didn't he clean up his social media and stop that sort of thing, as you're taught to by Casey in her OSINT classes every Friday? Well, basically, his claim was rejected. Okay, it was $1 million legal battle against the rugby league's insurer, but that video was put up on his football club's website. He had no control over it, so he couldn't get it taken down. And it's not known if he even knew it existed. I mean, he's in it, all right. And I guess he was contracted to be as a player in promotions and stuff like that. But it was a combination of the video, the doctor's exam, and what he was doing, right, in relation to his claim. Now, when you make a claim and you say you can't do something, you can't do it. And you can't work here, so you can't work over there. I don't know when the video was made. It might have been made 5 years before the claim even happened. I don't know. They would have taken all that into account at the hearing where the claim was rejected. You're watching episode 274 of Spy Curious. It's August 6th, 2024. And if you're in Cairns, I've got a national investigation agency that wants you to do a 30-hour surveillance. So get in touch with me, Mike Evans, at the Australian Security Academy by email, and I'll put you in touch with that employer today. So make the most of that. Don't miss out on it. All right. So people, that's the end of our program. You've been watching episode 274 of Spy Curious. There's big issues going on down at VWA. There's a lack of constraints on what people get up to and an overall purveying what you could call, I don't know, an attitude towards we've got $6 billion a year, we'll do what we like, which is not good news for the taxpayers of Victoria, for the employers who pay those $6 billion worth of premiums, and it does absolutely nothing to assist the injured workers of Victoria. VWA got a lot of cleaning up to do. It's not impossible. As we say in the certificate for in government investigation, what it's about, it's not just exposing the VWA and the people who did it and, you know, pulling out their expense register and saying it was not filled in according to process, policy and procedure. Part of our role is to help them rebuild, contribute to the acceptance of the findings, and the findings are that was inappropriate. You can't do that. I don't care how well intended it was. The whole thing didn't go as they planned it to. Basically,
holy backfire.
This plan might backfire.
Dad, exclusion always backfires.
That's what happened in the past, and we've told you in here, okay, that back in the day, for claims managers for an insurance company in 1995 to 2000, you had to supply sex workers to the claims managers to be awarded membership of their panel. In another case, there was legal representatives who won workers' compensation work through Queensland Workers' Work Cover Scheme, and they tried to charge a $75 investigation allocation fee to every investigation agency that they allocated a file to. Now, you can't do that. You can't funnel people into an industry association, which may not have any benefit for them whatsoever with what they do. It's got to be relevant. It's got to be about workers' compensation. It can't be about police stuff and ex-police stuff and crimes. They can say it's fraud. Well, look at your internal fraud, mate. Basically, they were calling the pot was calling the kettle black in what they were trying to do. Can't do it, people. They can't do it. I'll see you in episode 275 of Spy Curious, where we've got a couple of things coming up this week. One in particular about how to successfully make it in investigations. What is the key to doing that when you're starting out? And we've got a person who's going to tell us their experience, and we'll show it to you on Friday in episode 275. I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy. Thanks for watching. Get in and apply for those jobs, and I'll see you on Friday.